In a good fight, there are strategic plays and there are two main types of counters, especially in battle manga: weak point and adaptation. I have a video on this subject, but I'll explain it as I analyze one of Jujutsu Kaisen's greatest fights, Hakari vs Kashimo. The prelude is important. Before this fight, Panda jobs for Kashimo, allowing him to show off his moveset and power. Kashimo has a unique trait where his energy is constantly electrified, and this adds a move where he can beat up his opponent to charge up a deadly electric projectile attack. Both of these skills dominated Panda. Then his savior arrives. The fight starts in chapter 186. Hakari starts off with some close quarters combat, but he's already deploying an adaptational counter. The electrified cursed energy worked on Panda, but it isn't working on Hakari because his cursed energy output is just too high. The two engage in CQC again and are evenly matched until Kashimo uses his electric projectile. The hero adapts to this with the side effect of his domain expansion. Idle Death Gamble gives Hakari unlimited cursed energy, which allows him to immediately regenerate his arm. The Panda fight is important because it shows off Kashimo's two signature skills that make him deadly. So when Hakari shows up and easily adapts to both of them, it makes Hakari look much stronger by comparison. The chapter ends with Hakari expanding his domain again. In 187, Hakari enters the killable mode of his ability, providing a weak point for Kashimo to exploit. The two engage in CQC again, but Kashimo has the upper hand. This is when Hakari reveals a new technique, consecutive effects. It works similarly to Izanagi, allowing him to undo recent events and undo damage. Kinji continues to adapt to his opponent's superior martial arts with consecutive effects. This allows him to survive through the killable mode and enter his unkillable mode. In 188, Kashimo discovers a weak spot. Reverse cursed energy comes from the head, so if he destroys Hakari's head in one blow, he can kill him. After some CQC, Kashimo uses his lightning bolt to blow up his opponent's head. The Tokyo Sorcerer countered by ejecting Kashimo's energy out of his nose while healing. Hakari notices a weak point in the electrokinetic abilities, which is that his lightning bolt attack has a cooldown period, so he gets more aggressive and starts winning in close range. Kashimo adapts to his own weak point by having charged up his attack in the staff as well, not just his opponent. The lightning bolt lands a critical wound on Hakari right as he becomes killable, so Hakari counters with his domain again. With his incredible luck, he hits the jackpot and regenerates in 189. To counter Kashimo's dangerous electricity, he uses one of his domain's ability to change their location. His plan is to force Kashimo into the sea, which will either deplete his electrical energy or force him to turn it off. Hakari kicks his opponent into the sea, forcing him to make a choice. Kashimo adapts by using his electricity on the chlorine in the water to create a deadly gas that knocks out the gambler. The complexity of toxic poisoning would naturally kill a reverse cursed user, but Hakari naturally adapts to this because his regeneration is fully automatic. The two fight underwater before Kashimo releases all of his energy, creating a steam explosion. His plan was to take off one of Hakari's arms so he couldn't use the hand sign to activate his domain. This was an attempt at exploiting the weak spot that domains need a hand sign. The gambler countered by using a binding vow to adapt. He made it so that he could use his domain with only one hand. He also moved the energy protecting that arm to the rest of his body, sacrificing it for more protection. So when they get to the surface, Kashimo's out of energy, allowing Hakari to land a free hit, ending the fight in 190. This fight was great for a couple of reasons. The first was the complexity of the powers. Kashimo had a natural cursed energy that could do extra damage and give him a special attack without using his curse technique. The rules for the lightning bolt created a weak point that could be exploited in the battle. Hakari's domain was complex with several smaller abilities. The best trait was the fact that he also had a weak point that could be exploited, which was his killable mode. Great magic writers include natural weaknesses so that they can be exploited by the opponent, and then maybe even worked around by the user. That makes fights extremely cerebral. Idle Death Gamble also had miscellaneous abilities like rewinding and location changing that were used wisely. Like I've said in other magic videos, giving characters a bunch of unrelated abilities expands the tactical arsenal that they have available. Panda's fight preceding this was a great addition because it served as a foil. It allowed us to compare their performances and see just how great Hakari was. It effectively showed off Kashimo's skills and then had Hakari easily counter them without much thought. That communicated how naturally talented Hakari was. Even towards the end, his abilities were naturally countering Kashimo's detailed plans. The pacing of the weak points and adaptations and plays were amazing. Every single character had at least one major tactical play. The fight is 5 chapters long. I counted 13 counters. That's 2.6 tactical counters per chapter. Hakari had 9 counters, while Kashimo had 4. Kashimo had more straightforward attacks and plays that didn't rely on adapting or weak points, like his energy trait or lightning bolt, which is why his stats were lower. He had 2 plays unrelated to counters. Meanwhile, Hakari had no magical attacks in his kit. Most were supportive or defensive. The last thing that shines is how the fight blended magical strategy with hand-to-hand combat. Despite the fact that most of this fight is punches and kicks, the author made sure to include at least 2 important magical plays per chapter, making the fight constantly feel cerebral. The only major flaw is the binding vow at the end. I have a video on my issues with them, but in a nutshell, they are often cop-outs and Deus Ex Machinas. It was definitely a poorly planned cop-out here. Overall, this fight was phenomenal and easily one of the top 3 in JJK. It showed how great Cursed Energy was as a magic system, and how creative Akutami was as a fight writer.